Hey everybody, so I just did the video on relationships, and then I just followed it up with the second video on basically the mediation process or the examination process between two people. So this one's going to be on someone has infringed upon your rights or infringed upon you, and you're upset about it, and you need to be able to express yourself. So I kind of chalk up the anxiety and frustration in people come from two things. One is they don't know how to handle conflict. And number two is they don't know how to express themselves or talk. Because of our language and the harmonics of how we communicate, even volume versus tempo versus even the words, the changing and modifying of it to go up and down, there's a harmonical part to it, almost like music. So words are kind of like music because they create vibrational harmony. Okay? But all words are powerful, because humans are the only animal that use words. And they're extremely dangerous, but they're also extremely helpful when they're used appropriately. And so we're going to talk about interaction, human interaction, where someone's been infracted and they want to express themselves and they're frustrated, and this will give them an acronym and give them a structure of how to express themselves and give them some understanding. So it's something that I use it all the time, and I've been very successful with it, and I pretty much can tell anybody how I feel because they can't really argue with it because of how I've structured the harmonics of it. So for me, it's worked out really well. People do get mad, by the way. Don't forget that. Like, they're going to get mad when you call them out, because even nicely calling people out will make them lose their minds. So I use a system called FART. Now, the reason I like the acronym is because I'm a military guy, and I'm also I was a fire medic for 20 years. So firefighter paramedic. And I'm probably going to be soon. Actually, that's kind of funny because I sent an email today, and it looks like I might be going back to work. Kind of. So I use the FART method. All right, I made this up. I didn't find it anywhere, but I put it together, and harmonically, it actually makes sense, and it's hard to argue. So let me tell you what FART means. FART means feelings, right? That's the first F, is feelings. Now, the reason it's important to express feelings is because people cannot argue with how you feel. They are your feelings, and you own them, and they are a priority. Are they true? Is it a true opinion? Well, that requires an examination. But if you've tried to examine and the other person's not talking or not communicating, well, you're only left with whatever you think, because your perception of reality was created, and when you expressed it or you tried to express it, they didn't acknowledge you. They ignored you, right? So feelings are important because we kind of run our life off of feelings. So it's the first priority. So you express how you feel. Now, you can do this in verbal or you can do this in writing. And there's a little bit kicker to writing, and I'll touch it at the end. The next step is to express the action that the person did to make you upset or infract you. In other words, you're telling them very, very specifically, exactly, precisely what they did. Why? Because that's what you know they did or you believe they did. All right? And then the R is to request a reparation or request a repair. Now, this is why you do that. In common law, and including in civil law, reparations must be made in the legal system, right? You have to ask for something to be repaired, right? You have to ask for something, you have to request it. So the most common request is an apology. So I want to explain how this works a little bit. It doesn't mean that the other party has to give you the apology. In fact, you might find out more than less that they're not going to. What it does do is psychologically, you have now engaged the other party, and you don't understand, or at least you're about to understand, that just the fact that you actually engage them will build a barrier that if they infract you or they do things that are inappropriate, they're going to be called to task. And you're going to ask for something in return. So it's a really powerful tool, even if you don't get what you're looking for, you're making a statement that they are going to have to deal with you. So they might want to just be kind and put up that boundary. And they will. They'll be cautious. They're going to be a little more cautious. They're going to watch your step rather than being tyrannical with you. Or they're going to lose their minds and they're just going to be pissed. So the last one, the T, is called time, right? Time is of the essence. It's important. That's why lawsuits have time limits on them. Really, you shouldn't let anything go. If you're upset and you're perseverating on something, or you're vacillating on it, which means perseverate means to like fester, like, I'm angry. And vacillate means like, I got to make a decision, I don't want to, right? So, okay. So if these things are following your brain, and you can't let them go, and you're harping on them, they're in that ellipse where they just won't stop, and they go back and back and back. That's something that needs to be dealt with. That's something that you should really, really work on and fix it, right? And you can use this method. Now, if you're using text, or you're using text to an employer, or emails to an employer, or you're using this as, and listen, you can do this at work, but you really should use the summary part too, even in verbal conversations or phone conversations. But this structure works really well. If you have someone who cannot control their emotions, or a boss that cannot control themselves, just understand that you're basically starting a discrimination legal case against them when you do this. So if they lose their mind, they're going to be in some trouble if you can stick to the script and really play this out the way it's supposed to work. And this is how the legal system works. My lawyer was flabbergasted at the efficiency of how I've mechanized this system into an application. So, anyways, so you start with a summary of a phone. We had a phone conversation today. This is where we were, right? Do the who, what, when, where, why, how, and then drop into the fart, right? And run it all the way down, right? And you're sending it. So let me explain why this is valuable on the employer, organization, or government side. The reason it's important is because if you've ever taken like discrimination training, or you've ever taken any of these trainings, it says you got to tell somebody, you got to tell someone, right? You got to tell the person, you got to give them a chance to fix it. Well, guess what? This is the chance to fix it. And this is exactly how you do it. So this is precision to exactly how it's supposed to be done according to law. Right? So you feel that you're being discriminated against for whatever. They hate you because of the way you think. That's what they hate me for. Everyone hates me for the way I think, because I don't think like everybody else. And it pisses them off. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it starts the process of giving them the opportunity to defend themselves. So you can't accuse someone of something until you've made a conscious effort to verify that's what they did. That's called the examination part. That was in the other video. This is you presenting it to them. If they've ignored you and they don't even want to come to the table for mediation, they don't want to come to the table at all, they just ignore you. Well, then they can ignore you in writing. And when they ignore you in writing, you're going to give them a brief period of time. I think most policies and companies are 2 to 3 days. And then you just climb the ladder, repeating it. and you start one big email chain. So I'll talk more about climbing the ladder in another video, but really this is about giving them the opportunity to defend themselves. And once they have that opportunity, their failure to respond is all the power and ammunition you need, because they knew. They just didn't care. So, God bless you. And hopefully this finds somebody and helps them, because it took me a long time to figure it out, and it's helped me tremendously.